Russo'sBrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
Well, every once in a while, the AEW fan code of conduct that they post at their events starts making the rounds, and it did again this week with the Blood and Guts event. So I don't know if you've seen this, Al, but they post this on their big screen for the crowd before the show starts.
Okay.
And it says AEW fan code of conduct. Caution. If you have a seat on the floor, you are at risk of being struck by persons, objects, barricades, and other items. Please be aware of the action as you are watching and move out of the way if someone or something is coming your way. By staying in this area, you assume all risks of injury to yourself and to your property.
That has got to be one of the most lamest ways to avoid liability that I've ever heard.
But let me ask you this, Al. Could it avoid liability? Could it avoid?
I don't think so. I don't think it would hold up in a court of law. I really don't. There's a thing called assumption of risk. So like, if you're a professional wrestler, technically there is an assumption of risk. When you enter into the ring, there's the likelihood that you could suffer a life-altering, life-ending injury. So there's an assumption of risk. If you're a professional boxer, assumption of risk. You're an MMA fighter, there's an assumption of risk. So it'd be you can, and like there have been precedents in the past, like the guy that worked with Marty years ago in Orlando at the Sundome when that accident happened. But you've really got to prove negligence on the parties involved as far as if you're a wrestler. Now, if you're a fan, you're going to see an event. The onus is really more on the promotion to mitigate that risk to you as an audience member because you're not a direct participant. And by simply putting up there something like that as a way to negate the assumption create it on the part of the audience that it's an assumption of risk, I don't know if that would. I'm not a lawyer, and I think, and of course, when it comes to the law, it's not about right or wrong in the law, and a lot of people don't understand that. It is about who can argue the best point and then win that and create a precedent that going forward another lawyer uses by saying this was agreed to and etc. Does that make sense? So they're taking the promotion itself is taking a leap of faith that, that they can say, hey, we showed the audience that shit can happen. And if they get hit, it's on them. They didn't get out of the way. When the promotion should be telling the performers, hey, don't be going there. Don't be doing that.
Yeah.
Remember the couple of times in TNA, there were instances when we were there at Universal Studios, and man, everyone panicked because the guardrail got slammed into. I remember the night it got slammed to a little kid that was sitting there right by the guardrail, and somebody threw somebody into the guardrail, and it hit the kid, and boy, it was like, oh, we need to fix this fast because the audience technically really doesn't have that assumption of risk. If they did, how many people would want to show up at the building knowing full well that there was an assumption of risk that they could be injured in some fashion by simply watching the show? If that were the case and you were doing business like that, think of the fact that it wouldn't do a lot to engender a lot of people wanting to show up and buy a ticket. They're going to be like, I'm not buying a ticket there. I might get hit with something or somebody. So I don't want to sit there and down in the floor. You'd have most of the time, you'd have your first couple of, you'd only have those hardcore fans that would want to buy tickets on the floor because they'd be like, oh, this would be cool. We'll get hit with somebody. The rest would all be sitting way up in the stands, and most of the floor would be empty because they don't want to take that assumption of risk. So I can't, again, I'm not an attorney, but it would be interesting. And I'm sure at some point in time, because of like we've watched, with the deathmatch stuff, the light tubes come flying right out and hit somebody. And of course, they don't even put that up on their screen, that that a lawsuit could and would probably happen, and it may be difficult for AEW to be able to go, well, we put that up on the screen, and the judge would go, yeah, well, I bought a ticket. I didn't expect that, I was going to end up having somebody in my lap. So, or having an object stuck in my forehead because I just happened to be sitting in the wrong place.
I guess, part of that argument would be, Al, because I'm thinking of, obviously, like I'm thinking of baseball and a foul ball goes into the crowd, but that's not controllable.
Correct. And this, because it's a performance.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes a gray area, because and especially because we've made everybody aware, hey guys, we're all working together. It's all good. We've now negated any possibility of using, it was an accident, we had no idea. Well, according to you and everything that you state in public, your performers know well ahead of time what they're doing and where they're doing it at, in location, in the ring or around the ring, and therefore should have taken steps. So at the very least, the onus may end up being placed on the wrestlers themselves. So like if a lawyer, let's say, and this is how typically the way it was explained to me, let's say you slip in a food court. Well, your lawyer is going to go and sue the mall itself. It's going to sue the restaurant you slipped in front of, and then it's going to sue every other restaurant in that food court. Well, let's say somebody in the audience in AEW got hit with something. Well, I knew you were going to do that. Don't worry. I'm going to get my own. Just wait.
Go ahead, Al. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I have mine on order right now.
I slipped. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
They're going to.
Al, Jeff's laughing at you. Jeff's laughing at you. I want to point that out, Al. Jeff's laughing at you. I don't.
We're like children.
Yeah, Jeff's laughing. Jeff's laughing. Let me tell you why Jeff's laughing, Al, because he saw it coming. Because Jeff and I have heard that a billion times, Al.
I'm using it to prove a point because you started the conversation, Nimrod.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're talking about the law, and they're going to sue the wrestlers that are involved in the match. They're going to sue the referee, and they're going to sue the promotion. It may not stick to the promotion. It's possible, but it's likely it probably will to the performers. Remember when, again, back to Marty's case, I think WWE was held 70% liable in that case where the guy, his neck got broke from the rocker dropper.
Yeah.
And then Marty was held 20% responsible, and then 10% was on the guy. And it was awarded like 20, I think at the time it was a huge award. It was like $23 million or $33 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a significant award. And so, if you're a wrestler and you're in that situation, man, that's a risky proposition, because they're going to go, well, it clearly states that you know where you're going, you know what you're doing. It's a scripted event. It's a performance.
Al, you drove the guy into the barricade and there was a 5-year-old kid sitting right there. You did not see him? Like that's the argument, right?
Correct. And that you knew ahead of time what you were doing prior to going out there.
Right.
Because that's what they've told everybody. Now we know, because we're involved, they don't know every single thing they're going to do. There is quite a still, even in this day and age, there is some bit of improv in living in the moment. And so they may not have planned to do that, but they now are being held responsible. So again, I don't know like how possible that is to, for AEW to be completely absolved of any liability. It's a dangerous line to walk. I mean,
it definitely is. Why would you want to take any chances? Right.
Like when we saw Darby Allin, that lady got hit with the piece of glass, remember?
Yeah.
When Darby came off the ladder and shattered the glass. I mean, that's a dangerous line to walk, man. Financially, that's